What I think is meaningful about today's news and the fact that Facebook is positive is the fact that Facebook had this audit. They opened up their doors for this audit. They commissioned this audit. And I think Facebook is more likely to take the recommendations from the auditors, also civil rights leaders, than they are from the boycotters. Facebook has made it very clear they don't want to look like they're responding to advertiser pressure, but it's hard to deny the recommendations made over a 2-year audit of this company.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it, Bill? I mean, this is something that Facebook practically asked for, and it comes back with a pretty mediocre grade at best, though I guess you could say it's not like the other social networks got a grade, so we don't know what to compare it to.
I'm not sure I understand Mark Zuckerberg's motivations right now. I mean, okay, he doesn't want to be pushed around by his advertisers, but why isn't he trying to, go to the forefront and do something about the social issues that we face these days in terms of misinformation, the election coming up, racial justice, and so forth? It's like he's digging in amidst all the pressure. When, let's remember, after they came public, there was tremendous pressure on this company to develop a mobile strategy that they didn't have. And guess what? They came up with a mobile strategy. But this seems like he's going the other direction at this point. So I'm not sure I understand his motivation. And one plug, next hour on Power Lunch, we're going to have a former Facebook executive, and I'm going to ask him, he had a front row seat. He had got to watch Mark Zuckerberg operate. I'm going to ask him what he thinks the motivations are right now.
Power Lunch plug and rapid fire? Is that allowed? All right. Robert, let's get to
Bill,
Robert Frank real quick.
I think this is totally different than mobile strategy. This is they're under attack from all sides. I think this is very different. This is not just about advertising.
Julia, it's about money.
It's
always about money. It's always about the bottom line. They're being hit by advertisers. That's a bottom line issue. Of course, it's the same thing. It's just a different, different names, different stories, but it's still about the money.
Speaking of different names and bottom lines, let's talk about Harvard and MIT suing the Trump administration over a new immigration rule that bars international students from living here while taking online-only courses. Robert, tell us about this brewing battle and the enormous financial stakes for colleges that have really come to rely on foreign students.
Yeah, John, this is also about morality and money. So the morality side of it is that MIT and Harvard both suing the Trump administration for basically saying unless you are taking some physical course, you cannot retain your student visa in the United States. So those who are in the United States who are taking all online classes, like those who attend Harvard, will either be deported or they'll have to transfer schools. And so Harvard's president, Larry Backhouse, saying today that this is reckless, it is illegal, and that he will fight for the international students. But really what's on the line here is the $45 billion a year that international students spend in the U.S., and at some universities, they account for more than 20% of the total tuition. This has been the financial lifeline to so many schools, more important than ever right now, as states are cutting their budgets to colleges and as more families are cutting back. So this is about the morality of this and the students, but it's also about the money.
As some of you guys know, my daughter is a grad student at that Ivy League that Robert just mentioned. So she has a number of international students that she's been attending classes with, or did before they shut down in March. And I give her credit. She made a good point, I thought, this morning at breakfast after we heard this story. That her point was, why kick the students out of the country because they have to work remotely? Why not also then kick employees out who are working for companies in the United States who have a work visa of some kind? Why single students out necessarily when you could go after all people from international
people? Well, Julia, they're certainly trying. They're trying.
Well, I know.
Julia, I was going to go there, and I want to hear Julia's take
They're doing their best to get them all out.
Because, I mean, everybody's working from, not everybody, but so many people, especially with college education, are working from home right now. Why is the Trump administration so hot on everybody going to class? I mean, it's like hall monitors all of a sudden. I don't know, get in class physically. I mean, is that where we are? Is that a good idea? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's necessarily a good idea for a number of reasons. I've seen all those reports about fraternities and sororities being sort of a hotbed of the virus being passed around. But I also think there's this question, John, of just thinking about the ripple effects of all of those college towns that are going to be losing so much revenue at the local pizzerias and the coffee shops because they exist in large part for those students. And if you're going to be penalizing them because you're sending all those students back home, it's just various layers of economic, economic implications from that.
True. International students
Time
order
to
pizza
short
too.
the marijuana stocks, guys.
All kinds of reasons to do that, I suppose. All right, moving on. Then this. Disney says it is still moving forward with reopening of parks in California and Florida, despite coronavirus case spikes in both states. Disneyland California will go through with its phased reopening with the Downtown Disney District in Anaheim tomorrow, while in Florida, Walt Disney World will reopen the Magic and Animal Kingdoms on Saturday, despite more than 7,000 new cases just yesterday. Now, Julia, this is cases, not hospitalizations. Disney has an enormous amount of control over how things flow, how things go in their parks. Is that what gives them, you think, confidence to move forward the way they are?
Well, look, I think it's really worth pointing out, John, that there are two very different situations. California is moving very slowly. They're only effectively opening a part of the mall that's outside the park because the California government is really taking things more slowly here. In contrast, the Florida government is saying, full steam ahead. It's ready. They're ready for the park to open. And so I think that's why we're seeing the actual park open in Florida, which is a much bigger deal. Many more people getting on rides, not just getting takeout food. So I think it'll be a really interesting test to see how it goes, and also of consumer demand. I mean, there are going to be so many different steps that the park is taking, whether it's handing out hand sanitizer and masks or taking temperatures. And we'll see if the lines are longer because people are going to have to be more spread out on rides.
Right.
This is a very different situation in Florida, and we'll have to see whether people want to show up.
Admittedly, I'm not a Disney fanatic, so I may not be the most objective person in all of this. But, for me, going to a park like that is supposed to be fun and, leaving behind the troubles of the world. And how much fun is it going to be when you're still confronted by all of the onerous restrictions and procedures
compared to what,
being put in place in retail stores?
Where else are you going to go?
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, I just don't think it's going to be that much fun. So I will be interested to see what kind of demand there will be for not only the Florida location, but for Disneyland as well. I mean, certainly there are going to be enough fanatics out there that want to go back. But I just wonder how much fun it's going to be. I don't think it would be, at least for me.
It's going to be a lot of fun, Bill. It's going to be a lot of fun. Graded on the fun curve. Right, Robert Frank?
We have different definitions of it.
This is not fun.
I mean, just think you go on the spray ride like 50 times while you're there. It's going to be, they're going to spray you down.
I'll wait in line,
just like the water ride.
I'll wait in line 2 hours each time, too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The lines might be short. And don't say spray. That reminds me of aerosols. We've all got to be careful. Guys, thank you. Thank you. That was rapid fire. Next, shares of electric truck maker Nikola are rallying on an upgrade to overweight at J.P. Morgan. The firm noting the stock is, quote, starting to look attractive for the long term after a 40% plunge this month. JPM cutting both future partnerships and regulatory reliefs as key reasons to buy. But keep in mind, Nikola has yet to deliver a single vehicle and doesn't expect to have any revenue before next year. We're still in rapid fire. Bill Griffith, you love Nikola.
Well,
but how do you know? They don't have cars yet.
I didn't say I love Nikola.
Okay,
but
you like it. You think it's fun.
You said
unlike Disney World.
You said last half hour you like a bold call. This is a bold call, obviously, from J.P. Morgan. But I think it's instructive to look at the history of another company that's in the same business, essentially, to try and compare. And that, of course, would be Tesla. And I'm not talking about the mania that's going on right now. Hang on. Right now, Nikola is 5 years old. It was founded in 2015. Here we are, 2020. They still haven't produced a truck yet, no revenue, but yet they went public now, and they hope to have revenue next year. Tesla, founded in 2003. Its first car, the Roadster, came out in 2008 at the height of the financial crisis. a pandemic of sorts at that time. Then it went public 2 years later, and it already had revenue of $117 million. And by the way, it had doubled the revenue the next year. So theirs was a more logical journey financially, whereas it seems like Nikola has put the cart before the horse in this case. And I'm curious, J.P. Morgan's call on this right now.